7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order, please. And agenda 2.1, adoption of the agenda for the October 10, 2017 regular meeting of council. Torgerson and Salt. Are there any additions, amendments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. 3.1, adoption of the minutes of the September 12, 2017 regular meeting of council, please. Blanchette and Reimer. Okay. Are there any errors or omissions? Oh, hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Is there anything from the reading file which council wishes to bring forward? Councillor Torgerson.
I'd just like to thank the Regional District Fraser Fort George for forwarding their concerns to the Public Transportation Board, Passenger Transportation Board in regards to the Greyhound Canada transportation reduction.
Would you like to make a motion to send them a letter of appreciation or a note of appreciation? It's up to you.
Sure, if you'd like to make it official, Your Worship, I'll motion that we send a letter of appreciation to Chair Kane and the Board of Regional District Fraser Fort George.
Okay, seconder, please. Councillor Blanchette. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. I would like to point out the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change strategy that, if possible, Council would make the evening of October 27 free to attend. I believe that's a Friday night, but I'm just mentioning that. Okay. I know that there is an issue, especially in the winter time, with respect to the amount or the number of wood stoves that are used in town, and I know that whenever I step out on my front step, living where I do, and I look and there's just a cloud over the town. So, as you said, Councillor Torgerson, a lot of people burn garbage and wet wood, and perhaps if they attend this particular presentation, it might change their ways. I don't know. And I don't know how to go about correcting that. Yeah. Yes, Councillor.
Needs to be a community discussion for sure.
Yes. And I'm hoping that they come forward. Okay. Thank you. There's a lot of good information here about the trends and the smoke, etc. And also, it's the Green Communities Committee that Valemount has achieved level 1 and level 2 recognition and demonstrated significant climate action, corporately or community-wide, to reduce GHG emissions for the 2016 reporting year. And Valemount has been awarded level 3 recognition, accelerating progress on charter commitments. And I signed that charter, I believe, October 17 of 2007, and was on a special committee that was formed by Premier Gordon Campbell, and it was a climate action committee, and I was representing the north central part of BC. And so I'm pleased that the community has that the village has kept up with this, and that we have been awarded level 3 recognition. And so that's good for the staff. It wasn't reported previously that I was part of that committee, however, it's okay. The administrative reports, agenda item 8.1, street vendor permit, February 17. 1170 Fifth Avenue, recommendation that initial approval be given for the Funky Goat Eatery to operate at 1170 Fifth Avenue The legal description is there for up to 3 years, subject to compliance with the Village of Valemount Street vendor bylaw. Could I have a motion to that recommendation? Councillor Blanchette and Councillor Torgerson. Is there any discussion on that? Yes,
I'd
Councillor.
just like to know where that is. I tried looking at the map, but
1170 Fifth Avenue, Councillor Reimer.
Just the other side of the former Stedman's building.
Okay.
Just across the street from where it is now.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Torgerson.
I would like to thank the previous owner of the Chop Easy for allowing Mr. Grant to operate on that location for that many moons.
Okay, so there's no further discussion. All in favor? Carried. Recommendation 2, that the public be notified of council's intention to hold a public hearing and to give final consideration to street vendor permit 0217 at the October 24, 2017 regular meeting of council. Blanchette and Reimer. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Carried. 8.2, Housing Committee Report and Recommendations. Recommendation is that council receives this report from the Housing Committee and requests staff to review the recommendations. Blanchette and Salt. Any discussion? Councillor?
I'm just trying to find it here, sorry. One of the recommendations, I believe, was they're starting a housing society. Is that correct? Councillor
I
Reimer?
believe that was noted.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Everything that I attended at UBCM was saying that the housing society is the best way to attack the housing situation. So I was really happy to see that they're working on that.
Okay. All right. And once again, those recommendations are going to be reviewed by the staff. Okay. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 8.3, that council accepts the 2017 accounts payable report for information purposes. Salt and Torgerson. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 8.4, that council accepts the September 2017 accounts payable report for information purposes. Reimer and Blanchette. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. .5, the Northern Development Initiative Trust Business Facade Program. Recommendation that council approve staff to apply for the NDIT Business Facade Improvement Program for 2018. And 2, that council approve staff to request the Valemount Chamber of Commerce partner with the Village of Valemount for the Business Facade Improvement Program for 2018. Councillors Salt and Reimer. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. And agenda item 8.6, Northern Development Initiative Trust grant writer position. The recommendation is that council approve staff to apply for the NDIT Grant Writing Support Program for 2018. And 2, that council approves the village to partner with the Valemount Community Forest Company for the Grant Writing Support Program for 2018. Salt and Torgerson. Is there any discussion? Councillor Torgerson.
The Valemount Community Forest Board of Directors have approved funding for this position.
Okay. Good. Councillor Reimer, did you have anything to add there?
Just on a further comment,
Yes.
the summary that was provided to Valemount Community Forest was well received, so thanks to the grant writer for that.
Good. All right, if there's no further discussion, all in favor? Carried. And 8.7, NDIT internship. Recommendation that council approve staff to apply for the Northern Development Initiative Trust Local Government Internship Program for 2018. Blanchette and Torgerson. All in favor? Carried. 8.8, Greyhound Service in Northern BC. Recommendation 1, that council accepts this report for information, and 2, that council sends the attached letter of opposition to the proposed route elimination to the Passenger Transportation Board. What is council's wish? Blanchette and Torgerson. Is there any discussion? You've read my letter. Okay, and might not hurt to send a copy to the regional district so that they're aware of what we have written as well? Okay. We don't need an amendment for that, I don't think. All in favor? Carried. Bylaws and policy, 9.1, Village of Valemount Development Procedures Amendment Bylaw number 773, 2017. The recommendation is that this report be received. Blanchette and Torgerson. Any discussion on the receipt? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. And 2, that the Village of Valemount Development Procedures Amendment Bylaw number 773, 2017 be adopted. Okay, Salt and Blanchette. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. 9.2, Village of Valemount Permissive Tax Exemption Bylaw number 774, 2017. Councillor Torgerson recuses himself.
I'll wait for the gavel this time.
Okay. Okay, recommendation that council approves third reading of the permissive tax exemption bylaw number 774, 2017. Reimer and Blanchette. Is there any discussion? Yes, councillor?
So I'm just wondering, with the curling club in its situation, how, does this come off or does it, what happens with that?
Mr. Administrator, did you want to comment on that?
Thanks, Your Worship. So there's no change. That assent vote was done by the regional district. So as far as the village is concerned, there's no change for us until the curling club comes forward with additional recommendations or not. So it's still status quo for us for the time being.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Peters.
Thank you, Worship.
We're at agenda 9.3, Councillor. So this is Village of Valemount Council Remuneration Bylaw 775, 2017. Recommendation 1, that council approves first, second, and third readings of the council remuneration bylaw 775, 2017. Or that council approves first, second, and third readings of the council remuneration bylaw 775, 2017 with changes as provided by council. What does council's wish? And that 2%, by the way, is not a raise. It's just to make sure that you're not taking a decrease. That's all. Okay, what is council's wish?
I'll jump.
Okay.
That council approves first, second, third reading of the council remuneration bylaw 775, 2017.
Okay, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Salt. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. 9.4, Village of Valemount Local Area Service Parcel Tax Bylaw number 776, 2017. The recommendation is that council approves first, second, and third readings of Local Area Service Parcel Tax Bylaw number 776, 2017. Councillor Torgerson and Councillor Blanchette. Any questions? Nope, hearing none, all in favor? Carried. 9.5, new policy, policy number 67, municipal pension plan eligibility. Recommendation that council approves policy number 67, municipal pension plan eligibility. What is council's wish? Okay, Councillor Salt and Councillor Torgerson, you're moving the recommendation. Okay, any questions? Nope, hearing none, all in favor? Carried. And 9.6, a new policy, number 68, internal job posting. The recommendation is that council approves policy number 68, internal job posting. Blanchette and Salt. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Agenda 10.1, council reports, and we'll start with Councillor Blanchette.
So I attended UBCM with almost everybody else. It was an excellent conference. I attended a ton of workshops and panels, a lot of housing things that I attended. I also received my Level 2 certificate for the Local Government Leadership Academy. Quite happy with that. I got a chance to drive an electric vehicle, which was really interesting because I really thought they were super expensive. They're not, and they are so quiet you can't even hear it. I got out without turning it off. There was a really good film screening. It took 10 years. It was filmed in Victoria, and it was all about addiction and homelessness. And it was not as big a crowd as I would have liked because it was something that we're finding that every single community in BC is having housing problems. So it would have been nice to have more people there. Moving towards zero waste in BC. I didn't know this, but apparently every province except for BC and Prince Edward Island have a waste reduction plan. So some tips or some highlights were that Canada spends $3 billion on garbage a year. I was floored with that. And a third of the food is wasted globally. So one of their reminders is to think about the bag you're using, was one of their logos. Dissecting affordability, root causes and implications, housing prices versus house income, something for everybody to think about. The small talk forum is always really good because it's all about issues that are affecting the small communities under 5,000, so it's something that we can all relate to. What else? I'm just trying to hit the highlights for everybody. The Health and Safety Provincial Panel was really great. We had some really good speakers there. The new ministry now is really focused on mental health and addictions. They've created a specific ministry just for this. We had a fantastic meeting with her as council, and I think it really went well. I told her that I would be bothering her a lot with ideas and help for our committees. We also met with the Transportation Infrastructure Minister, and we met with the Minister from Energy and Mines. We had really good resolutions. We finished them all this year. And we had a meeting with Alberto Alberti about our VGD project. That sums it up in a nutshell.
Thank you. Councillor Reimer?
I had two more things, I'm sorry. Also,
Okay, just a minute. Councillor Reimer, could you wait?
Yeah.
Okay.
on October 2nd, right when we got back, I had a Healthy Community Committee meeting, and we've just purchasing 8 bike racks for around town. So we'll be figuring out where to put them. And on the same day, I had a child and youth mental health meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Reimer?
I was just going to make a quip anyway, Your Worship, that I did go to the electric vehicle booth at the trade fair and advised them if they could fix up my diesel to be electric, I would go for that. And they did actually say that there was a hybrid kind of in the works, but it was aftermarket and it was with a 6-cylinder. Unfortunately for that. Anyway, that was my contribution to environment. But I understand. Anyway, I do want to thank you. My notes on that have been circulated, and so I won't totally read out everything. But thank you for the privilege of attending the 2017 UBCM meetings. Just a few things that are takeaways. Always like doing the ag tour, and the reason that I like doing the ag tour is because all of us like to eat, and part of a healthy community is growing good food. And we're surrounded by quote-unquote farmland, and what is around us is as important and as much value as what we build. And so I always like to see these things. And a few years ago, I heard about one of the dairy farms down there that had converted and used their manure and set up equipment to create energy out of that. So we went to one of those on the first stop, and it was fascinating. It is not a cheap venture. The capital cost to set something like that up was over $5.5 million. And the return on it is negligible. It's a very expensive operation to maintain. It requires a lot of players in it. Fortis is the energy partner in it. But it is fascinating, and it does allow anybody that is using something like that to maximize and use 100% of their land and even expand without adding more property to their footprint by being able to recycle their manure rather than the old way of doing it, of spreading the manure on the field and then having to give those fields a rest. So that part of it is eliminated, and they can use 100% of their property. But it is fascinating, but the cost is staggering and certainly prohibitive to a lot of people. And it isn't a straight use of manure. It's a combination of about 50% manure and 50% crushed recyclables. So it does take care of some of the things that would otherwise end up in a landfill. And it does produce at the end, besides the energy that's fed back into the grid, it does also provide some byproduct that you can use in your garden or other things. So it does have benefits, but it is not cheap, and they don't use any of that extra power on their own place. They still pay hydro. It's still cheaper. Said we went to an experimental cranberry farm after that, and I'll mention that later. I've never heard of Westham Island, or if I did, I forgot all about it, but it's a little island just off across a little channel, and it's all agricultural land in there. Most of the farm properties have been in families for over 100 years. And I just said, if you're interested, there is one property for sale with an older home, 56 acres, $12.5 million. So if you think you can make a farm of it because that's all you can do with that property, and you have $12.5 million to spare, go for it. The particular farm we went to, it's a mixed farm. They get 5 crops of hay out of there every year. That's incredible. Westwold gets 3 if they irrigate, just to put that in perspective. So they get 5 crops without having to do very much. The farm specializes in herbs and vegetables, and interesting, every fall on the Saturday after Labor Day, they open it up and they get as many as about 4,000 people. A lot of families with small children who come and see where the food that they eat comes from. And we went to Ocean Spray Cranberry Operation, which straddles Richmond, Delta, Westminster. I was disappointed to discover the greatest percent of cranberries that are grown in the Lower Mainland actually do not get used for either juice or sauce. They only get sorted, loaded into crates, and shipped across the line, where they become everybody's new favorites, I guess, craisins. So we didn't get a can of cranberry sauce, and we didn't get any juice. But the experimental farm that does the experimental thing with the cranberries, it's on a low-lying piece of ground right next to the GVRD landfill site in Delta. Of course, it's kind of boggy land in there anyway. And it serves the whole North American industry in terms of research in cranberry farming. So the next time you walk by Cranberry Marsh, ask yourself if you could actually develop a cranberry operation there. Because if they can grow it in Wisconsin, you could grow it here. Anyway. Secondly, MIA on a Monday night had an open house and invited all the municipal representatives to come and have a bite to eat and have a little bit of drink. And it's the 30th anniversary of the Municipal Insurance Association of BC. And without MIA, short, we would not be able to have an organized village. And there would have been years where we could not have afforded the insurance premium for $100,000, never mind 50 million. I have this month been in the insurance business for 40 years, and I've seen a lot of things, but none as critical as the inability for a lot of local municipalities to have affordable liability insurance back in the mid-70s. And it took one court decision to forever change the game, and without MIA, who knows how the landscape of BC would look today. I assure you we wouldn't be here if that trend would have continued, because liability premiums went through the roof and there was no way a small community could have afforded that. So, MIA had an open house, and Tom Barnes, the CEO, presented engraved wooden plaques to about 15 to 20 people who had key roles in bringing the organization to what it is today. And then at the AGM on Tuesday, all the member communities were given wooden plaques as a token of appreciation and to mark the 30th anniversary. Our plaque is autographed on the back by the young lady who works there. And you can put that plaque somewhere in the village office. You can take it out and show it.
Celebrating 30 years, 1987 to 2017, Municipal Insurance Association of British Columbia, Village of Valemount, charter member.
You just hold it there a minute.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got it? Good. It's beautiful, and the staff will find where to put this up so that it's visible to everybody.
And the autograph of the person is on the back.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah.
Carol Chan, yeah.
So, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to be the representative to that organization. Thank you very much. And I said there's always a trade show at the event, and vendors of all kinds selling or promoting. And UBCM had those history books of UBCM, and if you've already had one, well, I gave one to Carleena. It is a fascinating book, and if you haven't read it, take some time. It's totally interesting. And I think the one thing that, and the reading that I've done on it, you know, we are a better country, not because we have free government or better government than other countries, but because we have the people in the local areas that are involved in making their local areas better. And, you know, when you read through that book, now the road isn't always very smooth, but, you know, it's people at local levels working together to solve the issues and problems that they have locally, and we have the freedom to do that. That's the thing that makes our country different. And, you know, whether it's doing things here in the community, delivering Meals on Wheels, or cutting somebody else's lawn when they can't, giving somebody a ride when they need it, or whatever. And you know, we can and we will eventually solve our housing needs in our own community. We may not all have the same perspective on it, but we have to figure it out, and we just have to keep working at it. And that's what impresses me about the history of all the communities in this province. And then we met a few ministers, as has already been alluded to, including the Minister of Transportation, the Honourable Clerk, and we asked her to work with us in a collegial way to resolve safety issues along our stretch of Highway 5. One first step is the closing of the pullout at the corner of Losseth and the highway. And you know, I never realized, but it is a big psychological relief when you're driving north and making the turn onto Losseth, not to have to come to that corner every day to make a right-hand turn, not knowing if there will be a transport truck or other vehicle whose driver may be totally unaware that they're at a corner where somebody might make a turn. And it's also terrific to be able to come to that corner, and if you want to make a left-hand turn onto the highway, and you've got clear vision down the highway. It's terrific. And if you don't drive there every day, you don't know what I'm talking about. This is huge, and we need to keep it that way. It's safety is 100%, much better, but we need to keep it that way. And we also need to move forward to see every business and driveway off the highway have safe turn lanes in and out. Unfortunately, the development decisions that are made often don't foresee the results, but now we have to live with them, and improving safety has to be front and center. So I would like to move that a letter of thanks be written to the minister for the meeting and for the improvement at the corner of Losseth Road and the highway, and encourage her ministry to resist any temptation to reverse that choice of decommissioning the lay-by on that corner in the interest of safety for the people who live there.
Seconded, I think, by Councillor Salt. Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion or any questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of writing a letter to the minister with respect to the very quick resolution to the issue that was just brought forward not even 2 weeks ago. Okay, all in favor? Carried. And Ms. Shepherd, Councillor Reimer will probably help you too. You've got it there. Okay, and we will. Okay. All right. Okay.
The only other thing I have to report is Valemount Community Forest meeting was last Thursday afternoon, and I was there.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Salt?
Oh, I think I'll be brief. No point in you repeating all sorts of things, but one thing I think we all attended as well was strategic planning on the 14th of September. I also, on the 21st of September, had a Columbia Basin Regional Advisory Committee Columbia River Treaty update call. I believe you were on the line too. So that was on the Thursday, the 21st. And then UBCM as well. And again, thank you for the opportunity and the privilege to the citizens of Valemount for allowing council to go and represent them at this annual convention. It is a very busy, productive week, a lot of important meetings, networking with peers, and I attended many of the similar meetings as Councillor Blanchette and Councillor Reimer. On the Monday, I did attend the electric vehicle study tour at the British Columbia Institute of Technology, which was incredibly fascinating. It wasn't just about electric vehicles, it also was about a small microgrid, solar microgrid that they have set up there that is used to do a lot of the powering within the BCIT, Institute of Technology. And so the microgrid is also used for the electrical vehicle charging stations, and they use it for some of the other powering in the Institute. And then whatever they aren't able to use, it goes back into the grid. But then if they need more, because if it's been a cloudy day or whatever, they can buy from the grid. So it was a tremendously interesting tour. They had an old 1913, one of the first electric vehicles there, and that car is still in running order. They maintain it at the BCIT there, and so it was really interesting. A really big tour group, and was really thrilling to hear the improvements that are being made in not only just small passenger vehicles, but also in commercial. And it had been announced, I was quite pleased to hear that the City of Edmonton apparently is converting all of their transit buses to the electric buses. So that's really a huge thing for City of Edmonton to be doing. And we rode on a great big articulating electric bus to our tour. So I, along with Councillor Blanchette, received my level 1 and level 2 certificates in the leadership for local government. So it was very exciting for us both to get that, and we're quite happy, and congratulations to you. And yeah, I'm just not going to repeat a whole lot of things, but I feel it was a very, very, very good UBCM. It seems like every year gets better. There are a lot of different clinics and workshops that sometimes are repeated or slightly different because as time's gone by, things have been amended. But I did attend some very interesting ones, and one early one in the morning was uncivil civil engagement, and what we put up with in this current day and age with social media and how uncivilized people can be. So it was a very good session, and a lot of us took a lot out of that one as well. So again, thank you, everyone. It was a fabulous UBCM.
Good, thank you. Councillor Torgerson.
Well, I, on the 20th, attended a VARTA meeting, and at that meeting, it was moved and seconded that VARTA would attend upon invitation from Councillor Eustache of the Simp First Nation, that members and mountain biking enthusiasts would attend the Simp Trail opening in Chuchua on that Saturday. So about 10 of us went to discover their new mountain bike park, and hats off. It was a really fun day. Fast forwarding a couple weeks later, I had to do some juggling. I'm not a very good juggler. On the 4th, I had to go to a VARTA AGM to make sure they had a quorum first, and then at the same time be in this room for a direct heat use committee meeting, and then conduct the business of that committee, and then rush back to special resolution being formed by the VARTA board to adopt into the New Societies Act their new bylaws. I was able to do that, and then the following day joined Councillor Reimer at a Valemount Community Forest board meeting. This afternoon had an extremely productive Tourism Valemount committee meeting, and I'm here before you now.
Thank you, Councillor Torgerson. Okay. Well, I'm not going to reiterate all of the different meetings that we attended. The one difference is that on Monday, the entire day, the administrator and I both attended the rural municipalities meeting, and for the last little while, the new minister came by as well. And we had good, interesting discussions with respect to the needs of the resort municipalities, and also the importance that the funding from the province be stable. One cannot, a municipality cannot make any kind of plans, whatever, if they know that, or don't know if the forthcoming grants, especially for the small communities, are going to be stable. So those were good meetings all that day. And with respect to the ministers, Minister of Health, yes, that was very good with respect to the mental health issues for young people. The Minister of Energy and Mines, I believe she's from the Kootenays, and I'll be seeing her again this week in Kimberley. And we had some good discussions on Friday following our official meeting with her. And I too am very appreciative of the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure that they responded so quickly to your issue and your issue, Councillor Salt, with respect to the safety at that particular corner on Lisseth Road. I was very impressed with all of them. I felt that they went out of their way to bend backwards to listen to our issues, but I'm going to see if they deliver. Okay? And I also attended the Kinder Morgan and Trans Mountain breakfast. Attending there was the Minister of Environment from Alberta. We met with her on Wednesday afternoon, the administrator and I, and she did tell us that the province of Alberta has the highest standards for resource extraction. And I requested that her deputy minister, who was with her, I think that was her deputy minister anyway, that he send all of these statistics to me in point form, or as he remarked, bullet form. I will use them in my discussions with the relative ministers here in British Columbia, as well as those who are opposing the pipeline. I did mention to one minister, the minister from the Kootenays, who's the Minister of Energy, as well as to the Minister of Environment from Alberta, that I take the Via Rail to Saskatchewan, from Valemount to Melville, Saskatchewan, several times a year. The Fraser River headwaters are in the Mount Robson Provincial Park, and the railroad is up here and the Fraser River is down there. We hear of many train derailments while they are transporting oil products or other petroleum products. For sure, we don't want anything like that happening in our area, and I feel that it is hazardous for the provincial government to be proposing refusing the Kinder Morgan pipeline. I also mentioned to the Minister of Environment from Alberta that our provincial government is going to be using our tax money to oppose the federal government, who gave all of the permits, as did the National Energy Board and the former provincial government, and that the municipalities on this route are on side. So they will be using our tax money to oppose it, and the federal government will be using our tax money to fight back. And I don't think that's fair. Just for your interest, Council, I just wanted to mention that the Minister of Environment from Alberta said, because of the issues, okay, she said, I wonder what our Premier really thinks of me by appointing me as Minister of Environment at this time. So it was an excellent convention, as usual. There were many contacts and discussions that took place. I also participated for a while in the Mayor's Caucus, and was sought out by a few of the candidates for the Liberal leadership, asking about issues in our part of the province, issues in Valemount, and I shall wait and see what they say publicly, not just to me. So again, I appreciated the time that we had there, and I also want to report that last Thursday, I think it was, when the Fowler family was present to unveil the street sign Fowler Place in their subdivision. Pardon? Was it Wednesday? Thank you. And it was, the sun shone, there wasn't a cloud in the sky, and the subdivision is very, very beautiful. They've done a very good job, and I understand that they are now commencing Phase 3 because all of the lots in Phase 1 have been sold, pre-sold, so we need more. And that'll be good for the village to have these, well, extra taxes. Okay, so I think that's it. I probably missed a few things, but I don't want to reiterate what Councillor said. So thank you. And I'll take a motion now, please, that the verbal reports provided by councillors and mayor be received. Okay, Reimer and Torgerson. All in favor? Carried. 12.1, outstanding council resolutions and project file tracker. Recommendation that the list of outstanding previous resolutions and the project file tracker be received. Torgerson and Blanchette, are there any questions? I wanted to say to the administrator, I appreciate the new format. Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Carried. 14.1, public comments on items considered by council as part of the approved agenda. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Okay, hearing none. Before I take a motion to proceed to an in-camera meeting, I should like to congratulate Councillors Blanchette and Salt for receiving their certificates in local government. So congratulations. Now I'll take a motion, please, that council proceed to an in-camera council meeting for consideration of 2 items per section 91J of the community charter to discuss matters related to information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Kate Blanchette and Salt. All in favor? Carried.